Hello everyone, Mahojo here, coming at you from very late in the day. I am very close to perfecting strategies for filming these videos when it's still light out. I'll let you know how the situation updates, whether I will unlock and discover these new strategies. I'll let you know. Maybe one day you'll see me in the gorgeous sunlight. For now I've got this amazing street lamp. Thank you very much. If it was one of those old orange ones, it'd give me a much more healthy glow. But today I'm going to be talking about a facet of the Ukraine war and a rapidly evolving situation of the Ukraine war, and relating it to something that I actually said and posted about a few days ago, very recently. As you may be aware, as many people have talked about, that's not what I'm going to get into. There has been a breakthrough in the line of defense in Ukraine, just an ongoing war. Not sure if you're aware. The Russian army has made quite a significant breakthrough. A big, long, thin line extending past the current line of fortifications in Ukraine, and you know, people are chatting, commentating about how significant this is, what this may mean for the future. But I would like to harken this back to something that I said a few days ago, where I made a video basically positing the theory that I have, or hypothesis that I have, that because in December of last year, I'll give you the short version, in December of last year, there was a successful small operation where, almost like in some sort of weird sci-fi dystopia, the Ukrainian army launched an operation. There was a quote-unquote infantry operation. Sorry, I've just been in the gym, quite sweaty, but a quote-unquote infantry operation that didn't in fact have any infantry. It was an entirely unmanned robotic affair. 60 or so, I believe it was, land drones, I guess you could call them. These weren't air drones, these were land drones, which are much less talked about than air drones, and also naval drones that have been used extensively, very extensively in this war in Ukraine. And the fact that you heard very little since then about land drones, and in fact it was only I think it was 3 days before I filmed that video, you got the first, well, I got the first, I had a quick look after I filmed it, the first mainstream news site. It was a big news site, I can't remember what it was, I edited it in to the video, reported on the first brigade, I believe it was. It's either a company or brigade that was explicitly for and explicitly including land drones into the formation, and it was explicitly about, this is I can't remember the name, but I could flash it up again maybe, and it was a drone and manned infantry brigade. Only very recently you've been hearing these reports, so I posited that maybe there has been a massive amount of development going on, hush. It's extremely hard to hide anything in this war, so if there was any on the field open testing, just by doing battles, it would become part of this rat race that all the other things have become a part of. All the air drones, it's become this constant race where every week there's significant developments. If a system and approach is developed, a month later it is going to be outdated on both sides, and in an attempt to avoid this seemingly like intractable rat race that Russia in some ways seems to be winning, they have delayed any sort of in the field live testing, and have just been manufacturing thousands and thousands of these land drones and not using them too much until there comes some sort of point where Ukraine is facing a profound infantry shortage, which they were when I made that video, which is the primary cause of this breakthrough that happened a few days later. Might have literally been 2 days later. They are facing a profound shortage. There is some sort of breakthrough or collapse, and I thought it might be Pokrovsk becomes very close to getting encircled. Like, it is actually the last couple of days before they have to start pulling soldiers out of Pokrovsk, or they just become completely surrounded and they are actually permanently trapped in the city. I thought maybe at that point you might see a large sudden fielding of many thousand of these land drones, and from that point, that's where it all changes. That's where the way we think about infantry sort of changes, and it becomes these very obviously explicitly mixed infantry offensives, quote unquote, where it's, I don't know, it could be 50% land drones, 50% men. Wild stuff, bleak sci-fi dystopian stuff where people are obviously still dying, but it's just you're also using that economic aspect and that complete technological aspect to try and desperately at least partially replace the soldier with a rifle on the battlefield. Obviously no one except maybe a few people in the Kremlin, and maybe not even those people, knew at that time that this thin column extending 10 miles or more past the front lines that just fired past, no one knew that specifically was going to happen on that specific day and in that specific location. So I am here to say, and I'm just here to put my opinion out into the sea of opinions, that this needs to happen basically now. If this is not the sign of, okay, they're starting to poke serious holes in the front line, you're very, very close to a frontline collapse and a routing of soldiers, an uncontrolled retreat, and you might not be certain of that until it happens, which is the thing. This can't be good for morale. There are massive desertions in the Ukrainian army, we know that. Even with conscription, aggressive conscription, they can't meet their manpower targets and their manpower requirements. As people have pointed out before, many people before me, many people who do this better than me have pointed out, proper people have pointed out that it's not a front line in the way that World War I had front lines, where it's every meter sometimes, or every 10 meters has a proper presence where there's a sight line of a soldier, where there's actually infantry in a line, an unbroken line all the way along, with the massive use of drones and massive use of, you know, satellites, and also more regular aircraft that aren't just drones, you know, like actual surveillance craft, these high-tech surveillance crafts, and also, you know, great use of cameras and telescopes and technological things. Sometimes even using, this is more on the Russian side, but I did hear something about using tanks as like information systems, like involving, because they've got very good telescopes on them, involving the tank site to just mainly be used to spot and monitor things from miles away, which is quite interesting. But I don't think Ukraine has really been doing that. With that in mind, a front line can become a lot more dynamic, where instead of having a clear continuous line, it becomes more transient, where you've got quick response, you've got bubbles, and you've got these quick responses where if people try and come through a gap, you respond dynamically to that gap and you plug it up. It's not a clear, it's kind of a hazy front line, and that is obviously partially fueled by a lack of manpower. So you're really, and especially considering this is maybe the first war, it's definitely the first major war where this has been the case, you're really trying out something new now. They need to be extremely careful in this situation, because it can be sort of opaque looking at these things like morale, like future manpower capabilities, not your current ones just, which again, if you're high up in the command, you're going through 10 lines of communication, and you know, the fog of war, it might be quite hard to even know specifically your current manpower capabilities and how they could operate and how long they could operate for. Trying to project into the future, you know, in a pretty bad spot, how bad can this spot get before things just hit the fan? I would believe, just putting my opinion out there, Mr. Armchair General, Mr. Lamppost General, this thing, if it is there, if there are these fucking 10,000 land drones in storage somewhere, because as I was saying, there was good signs in December of 2024 about the possibility of land drones. They've got a profound manpower shortage, which everyone knows about, massively reported on at every level, from, you know, actual top generals, Zelensky himself, down to the bloody bloggers on what's it called, Telegram, down to me, you know, everyone knows about this. If there are these like secret bloody 10,000 or more little glorified RC cars with machine guns strapped to them and a camera strapped to them, and, you know, tracks on it, or just even four wheels, literally glorified RC cars, if those are there, they need to field them now. You're getting extremely close to a proper breakdown and breakthrough, and several breakthroughs across the front line, where if you get to the point where you know this is happening for certain, then it's probably going to be too late. You know, there's one column of 10 miles that's been broken through, and that should normally be really bad for an army because you're so exposed. It's a little strip. You've got no security from distance. You've got no distance from the front line. It's all front line. If you make a little strip, that's all front line. And it's been 3 going on 4 days since this initially happened, and it hasn't been receded yet. It hasn't gone back. They've managed to maintain now, which is a bad fucking sign for the state of the Ukrainian infantry right now. So if you can get 1, and then maybe they get 2, are you still not going to do it after 2? And then they start poking these severe holes in the front line, and pretty soon, and these can accelerate because it's all psychological. Morale, apparently, according to several sources, people on the front line from all different ranks have reported that morale is a lot worse than it was 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Morale is pretty bad right now. And that's the sort of thing that can accelerate and is hard to quantifiably measure and can get out of hand very quickly. So if you get 2 of these big breakthroughs, or 3, and you're like, ooh, you're still deciding, only at that point you're deciding maybe we should do this. Maybe you're going to wake up tomorrow and 20,000, 50,000 Ukrainian troops have just decided to put the guns down or just start walking west, and they're like, fuck it. And once everyone starts looking at each other and they go, once one fucking battalion or brigade, whatever scale you want to make it, even if 1 unit, as soon as one, you know, group of 12, as soon as one group of a dozen men just all go, fuck it, there's no hope here, and they just start walking, and other people start seeing them, if those psychological conditions are right, that could be it. And you could wake up one day and you've got tens of thousands of troops just leaving the front line. And there was almost no way you could predict that for certain. That's why you need to predict it in advance, before you're certain. So I would say, again, this is just me, armchair general, but I'm just putting my opinion out there in the sea of opinions. If they have, which I think they do, I think it's like 80%, 90% chance that they do, they have been subtly working on some sort of big, cheap, simple, unmanned land drone force, considering such profound ground force situation, that they need to get those things out the warehouses now. And they need to start saying, because that's a morale thing as well, they need to start saying to their guys, all right, the first bunch that are going to go, if we're counter-attacking, if we're trying to get rid of this breakthrough, or just if we're defending, just if we're going forward while they're going forward, just to try and hold the line, the first things across there, they're not going to be humans, they're not going to be you who are going to fucking risk your lives, get shot. It's going to be little RC car. You're getting beefed up with equipment. It's not going to be men, it's going to be equipment. Your group now, it's going to be 25% unmanned land drones. We're going to throw, in this area, we're going to throw 500, 1,000, 2,000 of these little land drones at the enemy, which are going to supplement you, the men. We're going to help you out with this, and we might regain a settlement. We might squash and cut off that breakthrough. We might at least just stop their attack. And you can say at the end of the day, look, we're holding the line. That's what we said we would do. That's what we're confident we could do. The propaganda line right now from Ukraine is that they're going to hold until Russia breaks. I don't know whether your regular rank and file of the Ukrainian military believes that right now, or have done for weeks or a few months maybe. But if you throw, even just for now, because this is you can work out longer term solutions, they are desperate. And even just for weeks or for months, until it becomes a rat race thing. Then you develop more, you get something else. But just for a few weeks or for a few months to stop a collapse, if you're going to keep going, you need to throw these thousands of land drones, which I think they might have, because they have not been implementing in any significant capacity land drones as much as you would have expected with the scale and intensity of the manpower shortage. They need to throw these little land drones in there now. Have the fucking robot rebellion, have the fucking line of robots in front of them with the men. Give them the confidence to go and fight when the fucking it's hell. War is hell anyway. But if they want to keep the morale, they need to say, we're giving you a massive boost, we're giving you massive amounts of metal, we're giving you so much massive equipment to go and fight with, and we're going to hold these guys back, maybe at least even just for a week. We are taking back control. We're freezing the front line now. We're freezing it for the next few weeks, for the next couple months, for the next few months maybe. Give them hope and say, we can break Russia. We can make them stop this before their economy implodes, not ours, theirs. We can hold it until Russia breaks. That's what they need to do to give them that hope. So that's me, lamppost general, giving a take, just contributing to the discourse as an intellectual. If you managed to slog it through this video, thank you very much. If you liked, give it a like. If you want to subscribe, give it a subscribe. Hopefully I've spat some wisdom. And Zelensky, if you're watching this, you better get them out. You better get those little RC cars out of storage right now. Yeah, but obviously it's a fucking hellish situation. As they say, war is hell. It's just mad. It's just mad that there's actually like a major land war going on in Europe. And like, obviously because of this breakthrough, it's been back in the news cycle. But in general, like, Ukraine isn't really in the news cycle anymore. Like, because the West isn't directly involved in this war, like, what are you going to keep talking about? Like, unless there's like a strategic change or an operational change or a political change, what are you going to keep talking about? So like, it's sort of out the news cycle now. There's still like a large scale land war going on in mainland Europe right now, but like, it's just sort of out the news cycle. And yeah, to be fair, the front line has been relatively static for a while, like it was for most of 2024, but in 2025 the front line has been moved. Like, there's moved, like it's a dynamic, active, changing war in Europe in the 21st century. It's fucking crazy. Hopefully it gets resolved. Hopefully fucking there's a bank run in Russia tomorrow. I guess that's the best that's the best of this terrible situation. That there's like a bank run, there's like a liquidity crisis in Russia tomorrow, and they just have to stop. Hopefully, yeah. It's shit. But yeah. Try and have a good one. Goodbye.